What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today it is the next mock draft, this one for week 10 with the updated standings. If you missed my 7-round mock, I put a lot of work into it, so could you watch it later? Thanks. This one we're going to do 2 rounds again with the updated draft order. This one was interesting because I think that the current draft order, based upon certain teams' actions, I'm looking at you, Indianapolis, is not going to be remotely close to what we see. So you can check out my power rankings video to get a better idea of what I think those final season draft order is going to look like. If you haven't watched it, I worked hard on that too. But let's get to the mock right now. Let's not waste time. Just going to cut in on this video real quick to let you guys know about my main channel. It's called Will Reacts, where I cover all things from politics, pop culture, entertainment, ideological standings, all that good stuff, all that controversial, will I get banned one day topics. If you're interested in that, the link is in the description of this video. So after you finish watching this, you can go there and subscribe to that channel as well if you haven't already. Now let's get back to the sports talk. So here we got with the first 8 picks. We'll start with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. This is the ideal situation for both of them. I think Bryce Young is going to be the number 1 quarterback taken, but CJ Stroud will be very close behind, especially if it's Carolina. Yeah, both teams are going to have brand new head coaches. I don't know why guys are mocking like Lovie Smith is going to be the head coach in Houston next year. He's not. And then CJ Stroud, Baker Mayfield is going to be gone. Sam Darnold's going to be gone. And who's PJ Walker? It ain't the XFL. The Raiders might be a team that is hoping that a quarterback might fall to them somehow, some way, just based upon how everything's sort of playing out. I'm not sure Josh McDaniels makes it to the end of the year. They got a big game against Indianapolis, who is clearly tanking. So if they lose that game, their heads might roll in that coaching staff. But they grab Will Anderson. They just can't get any type of pressure on the quarterback. So you just got to take the best player that's on the board. And speaking of best player on the board, that leaves Pittsburgh to take Jalen Carter. I think this is the ideal situation for them to land Jalen Carter. He's just going to fit in really well. Cam Hayward's going to be 34 years old, I believe. So you just need to replenish that defensive line. Help out TJ Watt a bit. Then the Detroit Lions take Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. I know this is a little high for him, but Detroit needs to do it. They really do. That game against Green Bay was brutal. Green Bay did everything they could to lose that game, and Jared Goff still almost let them win it. That game was emblematic of why they need to move on and get a new franchise quarterback. And I don't know, they're in a position where they have 2 first-round picks. You got to use the first one on the quarterback. Take the best quarterback that's there and then worry about the other positions later, because with the Colts, with the Commanders, with the Buccaneers, you don't want to risk not getting one of the top 3 quarterbacks in this draft. Eagles, luxury pick. They just take Myles Murphy, edge rusher. It's really that defensive line and keep adding guys to it. I think that's what we're going to see them do in this draft, to probably only be in a position to get Myles Murphy or Brian Breezy, and I expect it to be one of those 2 guys. Another Georgia guy off the board. Arizona takes Keely Ringo, cornerback. They're in, I think, a similar position the Eagles are. I think it's going to be cornerback or some type of defensive lineman, get after the quarterback type. They got to clean up that stuff on the defense. I know the offense is sort of, what's it called? Enigmatic at times. But I still think that cornerback and edge rusher are the 2 biggest concerns for Arizona heading into the next offseason. And then here's Jacksonville taking Peter Skoronski, tackle, Northwestern. I think that this allows you to let Jawan Taylor go, first and foremost. And then you can try Walker Little at the right tackle position with Cam Robinson at the other. And you can play Skoronski at the left guard position to start the year. And if Walker Little doesn't work out, then Skoronski goes and plays right tackle. If Cam Robinson starts to stink, then he put him at left tackle. This really opens up a lot for Jacksonville, who needs to invest heavily in their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who started to show some good levels of competence, I'll say. I'll say that. And with Doug Peterson in Philly had a lot of success using draft capital on offensive linemen, getting a good offensive line out there to help out Carson Wentz and Nick Foles and whoever else might have gotten behind center. It's just super important to have a competent offensive line. You can never... I don't have a problem with teams throwing draft picks at a problem until they figure it out, and we'll see more of that later in this mock. Here comes the next 8 picks, and it's Brian Breezy going 9th overall to Chicago. I think it's just the best player on the board type of scenario for them. I could see them maybe contemplating Tyree Wilson, who goes there to Texas Tech. I think that those 2 picks could be flipped in the real world. But I think that Seattle and Chicago are certainly going to be looking for the same thing when it comes to their first pick of the draft. Unless something drastic happens at the top of it and someone falls that's unexpected. I think this is the range for Breezy and Tyree Wilson. That 9 and 11, I think you can flip them as well. In between those teams, it's the most disappointing team ever, Green Bay. I'm taking Paris Johnson Jr., tackle of Ohio State. This is your straight up right tackle. What is going on with David Bakhtiari? Is he someone that needs to be replaced? A lot of question marks coming up about that. I think that there also is an outside chance they might trade Aaron Rodgers. To where? I am not sure. I'm looking at perhaps Indianapolis, surprisingly. Maybe even Houston. But as it stands, Aaron Rodgers will be there, and you need to make sure that Aaron Rodgers has the pieces in place. I don't expect it to be a receiver just because if you're keeping Aaron Rodgers, go and get him a veteran wide receiver. Somebody who understands the game, someone who understands leverage at the pro level, someone who understands route running at the pro level. Giving him another rookie receiver is just kind of redundant at this point, because then he's still going to be in a position where he has to play NFL teacher, and that's clearly not something that they are in a position to be doing. They need someone who's going to be a sure-handed guy who's going to come in and take up the mantle of the veteran wide receiver on that roster, something that Sammy Watkins wasn't able to do. Randall Cobb is just too old to do. So I think that when you get into that free agency period, Green Bay needs to make it a priority to get whoever the best wide receiver is that's available, whether it's through free agency or through trade. I think they can look back into perhaps one of the Denver receivers, Sutton or Judy. I think that's a real possibility, and that's completely why this is going to be an offensive lineman. Detroit, Joey Porter Jr. This is a character pick. Dan Campbell is still going to be the coach there. I still think that. The players just really respond to him. It's just a matter of getting all the talent out there. And I think getting the talent out there on the defensive side of the ball is going to be a top priority. And having Joey Porter along with Jeff Okudah, who really came along this year, is going to really accelerate this back end. And another year of Aiden Hutchinson, some more experience from Malcolm Rodriguez, and then filling in some of the spots with some high-quality depth to get some good rotations there on the front seven. I think Detroit will be just fine. And here's Houston with their second pick. I got them taking Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver at TCU. Brandon Cooks, I'll throw out there as another possibility for Green Bay to trade for in the offseason once everything sort of settles down. And they're going to need a weapon, so they take the best one that's on the board right now, Quentin Johnston. Contested catch guy, good route runner, someone very good for Bryce Young to sort of grow with in this offense. Then the Colts, they're going to be picking way higher than this. You would assume they're definitely tanking, but in the event they sort of hold the course here and end up in the middle of the draft and can't get the top 3 quarterbacks, I'm playing with the idea that they wait till the second round to get him, and they just use this pick on Jordan Addison, put him in there with Pittman and Alec Pierce, Jelani Woods at tight end, Jonathan Taylor at running back, and just add another weapon in there to then insert your rookie quarterback into it and continue this rebuild. That it seems like I might have been the only one who might have called it. And here's Atlanta. Take the best receiver on the board again. Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver, Ohio State. After trading Calvin Ridley, they for sure needed to bring in a receiver. And this is a very good complement to what they have in Drake London. And then Washington, another team kind of like the Colts, borderline in the quarterback market. But I also played with the idea that they just build around Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell, let those guys compete next year, and just add key pieces to where you need them. Where take the best player on the board type of a deal according to your need. So I have him taking Cam Smith here, cornerback, South Carolina. Now that William Jackson's gone, didn't really work out there. They for sure need to replace that. Get younger at that position, get quality at that position. Going on to the next 8 picks, I got the Patriots taking Olu Fashanu, tackle out of Penn State. This is your Isaiah Wynn replacement. I don't think a lot of people are really recognizing that Wynn and Marcus Cannon, they seem to be on the way out, so you want to get somebody in there to replace them. And then here's the Bengals again, throwing as many pieces at the problem as possible with that offensive line with Broderick Jones. Find a spot for him on that offensive line because you drastically need it. Invest in Joe Burrow this way. You got the weapons for him. You got the running back. You got the receivers. You can stream a tight end in free agency every year to be that sort of safety blanket, but you need to have a solidified offensive line. And then here's the Bucs taking Hendon Hooker, the quarterback out of Tennessee. Brady's done. Brady is gone. At the end of this year, Brady's gone. He's not coming back. This is his last year ever. He's not coming back. You need to get a quarterback. You need a quarterback of the future, and Hendon Hooker is somebody who I think you can bring in, and he'll be the most ready out of the remaining quarterbacks, I think. Maybe Tanner McKee. But he seems to be the most ready to come in, and then you still have quality veterans on the roster, like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, etc., where he'll have a good foundation, and you're going to have a brand new coaching staff if there's any sense in that front office, because they are the worst coaching staff in the entire league, that Tampa Bay coaching staff. It is not even close. It is not even close. And here's Denver with their first round pick, and they're just taking the best offensive lineman on the board, Osiris Torrance. I think there could be a case made for Michael Mayer. I did play with the idea of it being Michael Mayer, and Michael Mayer, of course, you see there going next to the Chargers. I was thinking about, protection, creating better run blocking for taking the pressure off of Russell Wilson with Javonte Williams you got in there. You got Chase Edmonds now there. So I prioritized that aspect of their offensive production over just getting another weapon out there in a tight end, especially because, Greg Dulcich in his first game actually really played well. So he looks like he's somebody that could really be that guy. And then Albert O, if you decide to keep him, could be a good compliment. I think Michael Mayer would just be crowding a room that's not necessarily in need of being crowded. But that's why I'm going to the Chargers, because, it's investing in Justin Herbert, getting Justin Herbert another weapon. And Michael Mayer is like that George Kittle type of tight end where you can count on him to block. So this is, I think, a good spot for him to be going in. And I got Tennessee taking Isaiah Foskey, edge rusher, Notre Dame. That's, I think, a no-brainer. They're going to take an edge rusher. Consistent pressure on the quarterback is going to be really needed. And, you got a big contract in Bud Dupree you can maybe try to get out of. I don't know if they can get out of it at the end of this year. I think that they can and save, a significant amount of money in their salary cap. And even if you don't, having three, I say quality, I don't consider Bud Dupree quality, but having three guys that you can have a rotation with, that you can package together as a three-man group on the field at the same time, perhaps, is really important in the modern NFL. It's kind of like having that third safety or having great corner depth. You can never seem to have enough of this just with the way the NFL's going. And here's the first linebacker off the board, Trenton Simpson, linebacker out of Clemson. I think this just fits what Seattle's doing. Sort of take the best player available again. And there's a little bit of a drop-off after Trenton Simpson at linebacker. So you just take who's available. Maybe you don't fall in love with a quarterback right away. You're bringing back Geno Smith. They still have, I believe, a first-round. Do they have a first-round? Denver's first-round pick again next year? I think they do. So they can, worst-case scenario, create a package of picks for next year's draft and get that quarterback and just keep building a foundation for what would be a more long-term answer at quarterback, because Geno Smith is a little bit older and you don't know how much of this is, I hate to say a fluke, but how much of this can be maintained. I mean, we've seen it with guys like Nick Foles. We've seen it with guys like Case Keenum. Guys come in and they'll play really great ball out of nowhere, and then they'll just drop off and go back to what they were before they got that starting job where they blew everyone away. And I think they have to be sort of prepared for that. Perhaps not for next year. I don't think they've already exceeded expectations so much. The fact they're going to be a playoff team this year, barring an epic collapse, I think the fan base would be okay with maybe bringing Geno back for 1 year, trying to actually win with him, and then if he falls off, I think they'll be a lot more forgiving than if they kind of stunk this year or more middle of the pack and didn't invest in a quarterback in the first round, considering they have 2 picks. And then Baltimore, Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, best defensive back on the board. Their defensive back room would look very, very nice, especially adding Christian Gonzalez into that group. The last 7 picks here of the first round, Antonio Johnson, defensive back, going to the Jets. I think that's just an ideal landing spot for him. Cowboys, Bijan Robinson. Both the running backs will be gone. This is the most Cowboy pick you can get. The New York Giants, my New York Giants, need a wide receiver, so they're just going to take the best one on the board. That's Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver LSU. Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs, I think is a little redundant to what they have. I think Kayshon Boutte is a little bit better of an outside guy, could probably be used in that role more efficiently. They got Siaki Ika going to the Chiefs. Put that big space eater right next to Chris Jones. Help out that defensive line. Then you got B.J. Ojolari going to the Vikings, an edge rusher, LSU. Again, replenishing, getting a third quality edge rusher in there, kind of the same justifications as Tennessee, but they do have a better edge rushing pairing than Tennessee does. It allows put a little less mileage on some of the veteran guys that they got, Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith, and develop a edge rusher to have a much smoother transition once those guys either contract out or age out completely. Then the Bills take Brian Branch, safety from Alabama. I think that's pretty straightforward. He can be with, I think it's DeMar Hamlin as the DBs of the future, as Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer sort of age out of that position. Both of them, I think, are over the age of 32. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, this is just a luxury pick for the Eagles. Take the best running back on the board. And you can let Miles Sanders walk. Don't have to pay him. And Miami tampered. Ha ha. Moving on to the second round here, and we'll try to go through it a little bit more. We got Felix Anudike and Jared Verse. Carolina and Houston kind of mimicking each other, but they have, ironically, some of the same needs. So in the first 2 rounds, they kind of just follow each other's lead. Then we got 2 tackles going off the board immediately with Harrison and Duncan going to the Raiders and the Steelers. Both of those teams in need of that position as well. Then we got Andre Carter, edge out of Army. Again, Army guy, character, high character player going into Dan Campbell's locker room. Put him opposite of Aiden Hutchinson in the future. You got a good little group there. And here's the Saints taking Tanner McKee, quarterback out of Stanford. He's the guy who can slide in and be the most ready of the remaining quarterbacks and also give you a quality level starter because they just got nothing going on at quarterback. Get out of Jameis Winston, get away from Andy Dalton, and just get a rookie in there. Build around that. Arizona, Zach Harrison, we said it in the first round. They need an edge rusher and a corner. They got their corner, now they get an edge rusher. Clark Phillips takes a bit of a tumble. I think due to his size, he'll come in, play that slot corner role for Jacksonville. Tyson Campbell, by the way, having a great year. So this will be a good compliment for that. Then the Steelers, picking again, they'll take Nolan Smith, the edge rusher out of Georgia. Green Bay, Chris Smith II, safety from Georgia. A lot of Georgia boys coming off the board, but this is your Adrian Amos replacement. Then the Seahawks, again, just taking the best player that's there, Gervin Dexter, defensive tackle out of Florida. It's a good pairing there with Shelby Harris. You got Boyan Mafe on the outside. Then we got the Rams taking DeJuan Jones, tackle out of Ohio State. That offense is so bad. I can see this also perhaps even turning into a wide receiver, though I think they'll go more with a veteran. Kind of the same path that Green Bay will go. Take a veteran wide receiver who you can slide in right away. I think they wanted that with Allen Robinson, didn't really work out, but Robinson's sort of been out of it for a while. So I think them looking, maybe Odell Beckham returns and signs a long-term deal there, and then that'll be the ideal situation. And I got the Browns taking Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee. Outside of Amari Cooper, what the hell do you guys got over there? So, you're investing in Deshaun Watson. Don't know why. Keep your hands off me. And here's the Colts taking a quarterback, Anthony Richardson, out of Florida. Sort of give themselves some time to rebuild here. Richardson is going to be somebody who is going to have to develop. But you're putting him in a good position, with a good owner. It'd be interesting to see what they do with the head coach. But in the event, this is only, again, in the event that they hold strong, which I don't necessarily anticipate. And here are the Falcons taking Eli Ricks, cornerback out of Alabama. Put him opposite of A.J. Terrell, and you got a good little cornerback group going on there. And then Washington takes Noah Sewell, linebacker out of Oregon. It seems like every year they need a linebacker. Even though they took Jamin Davis, even though they've taken Kaliki Hudson, they sort of take these smaller linebackers. So to add Sewell into the group, who's going to blow some people up. Here are the Patriots taking a linebacker. This is very Patriot way. Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas. Got to take linebackers. Got to take edge rushers. Got to take DBs and linemen and Belichick stuff. Emmanuel Forbes going to Cincinnati. So help out with that corner room where you might be looking to cut some contracts and maybe just get rid of Eli Apple. That ankle weight. Then you got Tampa taking Devin Witherspoon, cornerback Illinois. This is because you're going to lose Sean Murphy-Bunting and or Jamel Dean, so you got to figure out that room. Zion McCollum hopefully comes along, but you still need somebody to come in and replace that. Here's Carolina taking Josh Downs, wide receiver, North Carolina. Just get a weapon out there. You got C.J. Stroud. Give him a weapon. You really only have DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall. Maybe he'll finally come around, but you need weapons on the offense. Chargers take Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle, Michigan. They signed a lot of defensive tackles to try to help solve that problem, but they're all on short-term deals. Get a big-time space eater who's having a very, very good season. for Michigan to be a permanent fixture. Then the Titans, they take Darnell Washington, tight end, Georgia. The traits are off the charts. It's a position that they're going to need, especially if you start using Malik Willis the way that you see the Ravens using Lamar Jackson. You want to have a good tight end room with some big bodies, different types of skill sets and athleticism across that tight end position, because that's really what drives Lamar Jackson. And I think that that'll be something that'll also help drive Malik Willis long term. Here are the Seahawks again. Jordan Battle, safety, Alabama. Moving to the secondary now. Just keep adding pieces. And then here are the Bears. This is from the Roquan trade. They take Jared Patterson, center, Notre Dame. Get a fixture on there on that offensive line. Help out Justin Fields. It seems like Justin Fields is really coming along and becoming the guy that they were hoping he would be when they drafted him. So invest in him. Invest in him. You took someone on the defense, help that out, and you got to get somebody on the offense that can grow alongside of him. And getting a center is as good as you can get outside of getting an offensive tackle, but your tackles have been playing kind of okay. Getting here to the final 8, we got Henry To'oTo'o, linebacker, Alabama, to the Jets. They don't really have any long-term young linebackers there. That, CJ Mosley, but you can get rid of him. His contract is just ridiculous. But you don't really got much there. Cowboys, Tuli Tuipulotu, defense tackle, USC. Gotta figure out that run defense. You have to, and this is one of the ways you do it. You get big-time defensive tackles. Giants take Garrett Williams, cornerback out of Syracuse. They're starved at that position. They're looking to extend Julian Love, but they're still starved at that position. And I think worst case scenario, Garrett Williams can go back, play a little bit of safety, play in the slot, play on the outside. I think you got a lot of versatility there. Miami takes Zion Nelson. This is your right tackle. Then I got the Chiefs taking Cody Mauch, offensive tackle, North Dakota State. This is either your right tackle if you can figure out a way to keep Orlando Brown, or it's your left tackle if you can't figure out a way to keep Orlando Brown. Either way, tackle is a big need for them. Here is Detroit on the clock again, taking Jack Campbell, linebacker out of Iowa. Another Dan Campbell pick. This is somebody, for me, you took Will Levis with the first pick, and then you just took 3 guys on defense that Dan Campbell's going to love to have on his roster. Andre Carter from Army, Joey Porter from Penn State, and now Jack Campbell from Iowa. All 3 levels addressed. Brand new corner, pair with Okuda. Brand new linebacker to pair with Malcolm Rodriguez, who they're very high on. And a brand new edge rusher in Andre Carter to pair with Aiden Hutchinson, who they took second overall just last year. Here's Buffalo taking Andrew Voorhees, guard out of USC. Interior offensive line is really their only concern, I would say. At least their biggest one. Maybe a wide receiver 3 might be up there, depending on what you get at Khalil Shakir moving forward. And then the Eagles ended off Malachi Moore, safety, Alabama. Hope to extend Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, move Malachi Moore right next to him, and that fills that second safety position that you were really struggling to figure out for a very long time now. The Eagles haven't really figured out that position. You hope that you can figure it out now after throwing a couple of different rookies and veterans at that position and not really working out the way that you've been hoping it would. And there it is. 63 picks because Miami had to tamper because they sketchy. But let me know what you think in the comment section below about what I did for your team. Any controversial picks out there? I'm sure there is one. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out some of the other videos that I've posted on the channel. Help grow this thing. Let's grow it. Make it bigger. So much larger. Big.